Hello, excuse me. Hello, and welcome to Foundations of Human Design. We are on class 14, and we will be going over the Sacral Center today. So, the Sacral Center. First off, I just wanted to also state that the notes that I have for most of class here is basic notes. So I talk a lot in the class where you can write down like things that are not always in the notes from the video, so that it will really get um, into your memory, I guess, into your embodiment. So when you hear it and write it down yourself rather than just looking at it, it's going to have more of an impact. So just be aware of that. So make sure you're taking notes based on the video, because everything, I don't have everything on the notes that I say in class. There's a lot more that I say in the class. It's not in the notes. They're just basic notes for you to add to what resonates for you as I'm speaking, in the class. So, all right, let's get to this, the sacral center. So, hold on a second here. Let me just make sure that I had everything correct. Am I recording here? Am I recording? One of the other classes I did. Okay, I am recording. Perfect. It didn't take the audio, so I'm a little paranoid. I just want to make sure that I'm not doing a class where it's like I have to redo it again. So anyway, all right. So sacral center. This is life force energy. So Ra talks about that we live on a planet. It's called planet generator. And that the other three types, meaning the projector, reflector, and manifestor, are just visiting, or they're just guests on this planet, right? Because 33% of the people in this world are not generator, do not have this, they're not generators, meaning they do not have the sacral center defined. So if you look at a chart and you see this center defined, you know automatically they are either a generator or a manifesting generator. Automatically. They cannot be a projector, reflector, or manifestor. Those are non-energy types, and that's what this means. Non-energy types means non-sacral beings. They do not have the center defined. So their center is going to look like this. It's going to be undefined. They might have a few gates, like they might have the 27 or the 29 or something like that activated, but it will not be colored in like this is colored in. So keynotes for this center: life force and sexual energy. It's the same thing, right? Because of how we bring life. Life is through our sexual like energy, right? It's sexual life force energy. It's power. So you'll see as we go through all the keywords for the gates, as we get towards the end of class, it's all about power. It's the power to commit, right? The power to say yes, right? It's the power to nurture, the power to care. So it's response, because remember, the generator, manifesting generator, are here to respond to life. It's all about connection. Another way you can look at it, if you're a generator, a manifesting generator, is your response is like, ooh, what am I connecting with? It's like what is getting my attention, that literally is like connecting to my sacral center, right? You can almost think of it as like a in the spiritual community, chords are not a, obviously a positive thing, but you can look at it just for that, like what's grabbing this energy? What is my energy like moving out towards and connecting with? It's about engagement, endurance, right? The generators are here to do the work, right? Fertility, sexuality, availability, and timing. Now, as you can see, even with the root center, it's about timing as well, too. And the root center is also a motor center. The sacral is a motor center. It is the most powerful of just the motor centers because it's just a motor center, right? The emotional center is the most powerful center in the chart because it's not only a motor center, but it's also an awareness center also, right? It's more powerful in a different way. The sacral center, though, as a motor center, is the most powerful motor center because it brings life to everything. So this is somewhat controversial, but when I first started studying human design, One of the things that Ra talks about is that all the types, like the projectors, reflectors, and manifestors, are not here to like have children because they don't have consistent power to nurture, right, and to care for, to bring forth this life force energy. I'm not saying that that's true or whatnot, because I know several projectors, reflectors, and manifestors who have children. However, it's something to think about when this life force energy that is available to these generators, right? That has the ability to have the endurance, right? To not get tired as often, right, as the other non-energy types, to have the power to of this energy. So again, I'm not saying that that's like the end all be all. I'm just saying that that is what Ra has mentioned, and ultimately, right, we get to make our own decisions on that. But it's a power of fertility, life force energy. So like I said, only generators will have the center defined, one of the most important centers as it governs our life force. So when do you feel completely drained, right? You feel like, oh my gosh, my life force energy is depleted, right? Or it needs rest, or it needs different activities to engage in, and that will help its regenerative process, right? So saying yes to the correct things and no to the things that are not correct is key to honoring our life force and just to have this energy. It's like a battery, right? That needs to be exhausted every day in order for it to work properly. Work, rest, cycles, repeat. So if you're a generator, it is like your battery, and it needs to be like run down by the end of the day. If you have generator kids, if you're a teacher, right, you can assume that about 2 out of those 3 kids are generators in the room, and they need to move, right? They need movement is this life force energy. So this center, and when I went over the types of the generators, you can go back to that as well too, because this has sounds to it, if you remember that. So a defined sacral has it has another language. It's like, it could be grunting, right? It could be, it's nonverbal, right? And it responds to life in this way. So it doesn't have words attached to it. And it responds best to yes or no questions. I always say generators are not indecisive. They're just not being asked the right questions. If you could ask an open-ended question as a generator or manifesting generator, it could throw you for a loop, because it's like, I don't know. I'm not sure. There's this confusion. But if you're asked a specific question, would you like to go to this restaurant? Would you like to do this today? It's like, oh, yes or no. So a lot of generators, though, feel like they're indecisive. They're not. It's just they're not being asked the correct questions. So if you have a generator in your life, somebody with this center defined, try to honor them by asking the correct questions so that you can see how they respond to those questions. Watch and pay attention to how they respond to life. How do they respond in their environment, right? How do they respond to other people? How do they respond to certain music, foods, a tree, right? Birds singing, whatever it is. This is the power of the center, is responding to life with the power to respond to life. So undefined sacral center. In this video, I'm going to be going over more of like kind of how to work through, especially if you're undefined here, because again, I go over this very deeply in the generator type of that video. So this is the center that governs generators, makes you a generator. So a non-sacral being does not have sustainable life force energy. It is not reliable, and it will come in bursts of energy with lots of in-between rest times. The center is about sustainability, and the energy of non-sacral being is not sustainable. It is important to recognize this and know when enough is enough. That is the thing. If you're a non-sacral being, is knowing like, oh, when is enough enough? Okay, I'm done. I'm exhausted. I need to rest. Right? Non-sacral beings need to rest a lot. And we live in a generator planet, right? So the generators are going to look at the non-sacral beings and say, why are you so lazy? Right? Well, projectors are like, I need to rest because I'm tired. I don't have consistent life force energy. So I need to rest so that I can keep moving throughout my day. So mid-age non-sacral beings, if they haven't used their energy wisely, can have a host of health issues at mid-age. I know several, and I think I talk about this actually in the projector video. I know several non-sacral beings who have had some sort of health crisis, especially projectors. Not to say other types don't, but I've seen it more in projectors. They have some sort of health crisis, in their 30s or 40s, if they have not used their energy wisely. So really, if you are a non-sacral being, you are like, if you can think of yourself, I'm a guest on this planet. Guests don't have to do all the work, right? They get to be like treated as a guest, right? So if you could think of it like that, and you start to communicate to other people like that, and the correct people that are in your life will honor that for you, and the people who are not correct won't. And that's how you know who's correct for you, right? But you have to communicate from that space of like, hey, I just don't have the energy for this. I'm gonna have to rest a bit. I need to take a nap. I need to just like step away for a bit. Or I can only commit to this amount of time, but I can't do the entire time. It's really having clear boundaries around your energy. And it's not about getting defensive on your energy, because if you're dealing with a generator, they're not going to understand that unless they're in tune with this system, right? And they know like, oh, hey, you're a projector. All right, I'm going to be cautious of how I project out my life force energy and expect you to show up in that same way, right? So anyway, just it's like healing the stigma of laziness, right? I bolded that because it's a big thing for non-sacral beings. Go to bed before you are exhausted, or you may have issues of falling asleep at night. If you're a projector, manifestor, reflector, go to bed before. Sleep alone if it is possible. I've just been working with this couple. One's a projector, one is a generator, and how cool is this? They just started. I'm always cautious to say, hey, maybe you should try this, especially with married couples, because there's a lot of stigma, oh my gosh, conditioning around that. Like, oh, I cannot sleep alone. What would that mean for my marriage? That's weird. That's odd. That's just not normal. All of those things, right? I've heard, oh, my husband would be really upset if I brought that to them, or whatever, because we're taking it personally, right? That's the thing. This is not personal. This is about our energetics. This is about our mechanics, and this is about honoring our energy type. So if you are a non-sacral being, sleeping alone could be amazing for you. And like I said, I've been working with this couple, and immediately they're like, you know what? That's really interesting. The times that we have been away from each other are the times that we have slept the best. So they started experimenting with that, and they have said that they have like getting the best sleep. So try it, don't try it. It's totally up to you. But it has worked out to be a really wonderful thing for non-sacral beings, because your sacral is not going to have a chance to clear itself, from the energy of another if you're sleeping with a generator, and you're never going to be in your own energy ever. You're never going to know what it's like to be a projector. I'm friends with a mental projector, and she lives alone now over this last probably 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, something like that. But she even noticed even having an animal in her room was a disruption to her energy at night, and that she's been getting the best sleep just truly being alone, no animals, no nothing. So just take that, maybe just experiment with it. It doesn't have to be a forever thing. Just experiment and see. This is what this is about. Experiment with your design, experiment with these things, and see how you feel, And so not self-question is, do I know when enough is enough and when to take a break and rest, right? I honor my truth and realize that I need more rest than most people in the world. It doesn't mean that I'm lazy. It means that I'm aware of when I've used my energy. This is so important. I'm actually going to just bold this as well too, right here, because I don't want to forget to do it. Underline it, italicize, and bold it. I honor my energy and realize that I need more rest than most people in the world. It doesn't mean that I'm lazy. It means that I'm aware of when I have used my energy. If you could center in on that truth as a non-sacral being, oh my word, you are disrupting your conditioning. Center into that and everything that comes in the way of that to block that truth. Say, oh, nope, nope, I remember my truth. I honor my energy. Doesn't mean that I'm lazy. Somebody else is like, gosh, why are you resting? Like, blah, 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 whatever. It's like, no, I'm just aware of my energy. I don't have any energy right now and I need to rest. So define sacral center, 67% of people. You're designed to work, but it's important to love the work that you do. Now go back to listen to the generator video because I talk all about this. So, because if you are not engaged in the work that you love to do, you will not have the energy to do it. And you will also experience health issues. You will experience just a dissatisfaction and a frustration with life. You will overly be frustrated with life in general. So I'm speaking passionately about this because it's so true. Generators have been conditioned to not honor our no. Growing up in houses where we're not allowed to say no, or it's disrespectful to say no, or it's sassy, or it's back talk to say no. We're afraid to say no. Now, not all of us, but like, again, we have to work through that though. Are you a people pleaser as a generator? So, wear out your sacral before bed. And a defined sacral is to wait for things to show up in their environment and respond. So it's not correct for a generator to respond from an idea in your mind. Ooh, I have this quick idea to do this class or to, go do this thing or build this project. Wait, and wait some more. Wait. And then when something in your environment, external environment, not inside of you, not in your mind, external environment says, hey, you should really think about doing this class. Hey, you know what? We should go build this. I don't know. Like, I want chickens. I want to build a chicken coop, right? I've been wanting to do this for the last year. Now I'm doing this Freedom Farm Academy on my property. And the question was to me, would you like chickens? Yes, I do. Okay. So now we're building a chicken coop, right? They brought it to me and I'm just getting chills even talking about it. When we start to honor that, I want to do, I also too, like, I'm like, I was on Etsy this morning and stuff, and I ordered myself a journal for 2023 and I saw this stuff, this astrology stuff, and I was like, oh man, I'd love to teach a class and just like, basics of astrology. I'm like, oh, nope, I can't. Nope, I need to wait. And so if, something in my environment, someone in my environment, I can't talk, someone in my environment or something in my environment says, to me, like, hey, have you thought about doing an astrology class? Or like, hey, you'd be really good at this. Or even if just somebody says like, hey, like, could you teach me a little bit about astrology? Whatever it is. So something from the external environment says, hey, teach this. Or you should do this. Or have you ever thought about doing this? Something like that. And you can be like, ooh, yes, I have. And then it's correct to respond from that and then do the thing. Not from the mind. So I can't stress that enough with generators. I was just talking to somebody the other day and she's like, as a business, and she's just like, oh, I have all these ideas, and she's a generator, all these ideas to do all these things with my business and blah, 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 blah. And so she's like taking action on all of them because of these thoughts that she's had, these great ideas. And not to say that they're not great. It's just that they won't have the impact if she's not waiting and seeing how it shows up in the environment. Because what is for a generator, for a sacral being, right? The sacral center, it's an enveloping aura. It will come into you. It will come to you if it is correct for you. Now, it doesn't mean that you sit and you wait and whatever. You keep doing what you're doing. Like, all right, I love astrology, right? I love human design. I love doing the work that I do. So I'm going to keep studying and I'm going to keep perfecting that and mastering that, right? Because generators, sacral beings are here to master something, master their craft. So I'm going to keep mastering it. And then I'm going to wait. And if it's correct for me to teach on it, it will come to me in my environment. But if I initiate from that space, I will feel frustrated. There will be frustration in the process of it. It will not have the effect that it could if I would have waited for the timing. So go to sleep. First, do not wait for a second wave of energy. I know I've done this several times, still do it every once in a while. And I'm like, oh, I knew this. When you're tired, go to sleep. You know, you should be literally like hitting the bed. Ideal for a generator, manifesting generator is like hitting the bed, pillow, you know, head in the pillow. I'm exhausted and I feel so satisfied, physically satisfied in my day, where you just boom, done. So sleep like exhausted. So if you have generator children, a bedtime doesn't always work because their sacral may not be exhausted. So then they might not go to sleep. And then they might lay in their bed for 2 hours before going to sleep. And then you get frustrated with them. And then it's like, you know, go to sleep. Why can't you just go to sleep? All these things, right? As parents. Or you yourself, like, oh, I don't want to go to bed past 10 or 11, whatever your thought is, right? Whatever the mind is telling you. Listen to your body. When are you exhausted? There's been nights recently, I've literally been in bed at 8:30. I'm exhausted. I don't normally go to bed at 8:30, but I'm just like, I am exhausted. I am going to go to bed. And I've slept until 7. So like, you know, 11, 10 and a half hours of sleep. Go to bed when you're exhausted. Don't be a slave to the clock. That's your mind in control of some sort of conditioning and programming that we have around, oh, I need to go to bed at this time. I need to do this. I need to do this. Generators can sometimes go, if you're listening, you're exhausted at 11, right? 12, maybe it's not until your body could wake up at 5 and be raring to go again, right? Or it could be 8:30. So you have to move with the flow of your energy. So ADHD, ADD, you know, I talk about this in the root video as well, right? Where the sacral's out, it can manifest in symptoms of this. When we have a hard time sleeping, our serotonin levels drop, right? So symptoms include irritability, lack of focus, low self-esteem, low self-control. I've noticed that in myself too. If I am not wearing my sacral out, if I'm not getting good sleep, if I'm waiting I get a second wave of energy and then I go to sleep after that, I don't sleep well. And I wake up the next day still exhausted. And then, yes, it manifests in like irritability, right? Lack of focus, right? This is when I eat the worst those days, right? Because it's like, whatever, right? You just have like less boundaries within your own self, like you know, like the self-control. So it's the serotonin levels. So pay attention to that, right? So truth, I wait and trust for the correct opportunities that will come my way that I can respond to. I do not need to go out and make things happen. That is a manifestor, not a generator aura. Even if you're a manifesting generator, that is not what you're here to do. You still have to wait to respond. You respond and then it's like you wait. So it's key to know that. It's so key to know that. So the sacral center, here's all the keynotes. So the 29 right here, I'm up here in the top right. It's the power to say yes and commit to a process. And the 59, power of creative sexual energy to break down barriers and achieve union. So here's the thing also, I want to talk a little bit about this. So each gate also, we're not going to go into this in this class, but each gate has its own line number. Remember, so each gate has over 1,000 different possibilities of expression. How wild is that? Each of the 64 gates has over 1,000 possibilities of different expression, because we have the gate, we have the line number, we have the tone, we have the base, and we have the color. And there's all these different options within all of it, goes layer by layer by layer, and it gets more nuanced. So the 59, just because say 2 people have the 59, like a friend of mine has a 59, I have also the 59, right? However, mine's in the line 2. That's shyness. I'm not here to be like, so, and she's got one that's like literally like, it's all about sexuality. This is the theme of the gate, but it is like, it expresses itself differently based on the line number, based on the color, the base and the tone. Again, we're not going to go into this now. However, this is kind of like saying though, no 2 generators are the same, right? No two Capricorns are the same. No two Geminis are the same. It's the same thing. No two people who have the same gate number are the same, because let's look at all of the other things in there. Let's even look at the centers that are defined. Now let's look at the profile of this person as well too. Now let's look at the variables on the arrows. And I mean, there's just so many different things. There's so many. You could study this for years and years and years and still be learning things, all the time. So anyway, the 9, let's go move further around the square here. Power to focus the energy. The 3, power to bring order into chaos. 42, power to finish a process and grow. Power to care, nurture, and protect. Then number 27. 34, power to display great power. Get the power to display great power, independence, and uniqueness. Now, if you have the 2034, that means you're a pure manifesting generator, and the 20 goes all the way to the throat. You could have the 10 also connected in there. That's in the G center too. It could be all 3 of them, or just the 2034. You could have even just the 1034. But the 2034 from the throat to the sacral center means that you are a pure manifesting generator. It's the channel of like the Energizer Bunny. That's not the keyword for it, but that's how I look at it. So it's to respond to bring our like now energy, and to basically create something that is unique, to us, to bring into the collective. So power to wait, set, and keep the fixed rhythm. That's number 5. If you have the 5, you have your own rhythm that you need to honor, right? If your child has the 5, they have their own rhythm. Number 14, power to accumulate, retain, and release the power. So these are all the gates around the sacral center. Now, I wanted to touch on that if you're undefined here, right, which is 33% of the population, 1 out of every 3 people is undefined. So if you are undefined here, you are very influenced by this energy. And it's a powerful energy. It can feel overwhelming. It can feel overpowering almost, right? And the conditioning is just to run with the energy. The conditioning of a non-sacral being a projector, reflector, and manifestor, when they're around a generator or manifesting generator, or a transit comes in, it can be very addicting. Generators can have very addicting to some non-sacral beings, because to have this life force energy, it feels good. I mean, imagine, it's the sexual too, right? It's the sexual life force energy. It feels good. It can feel overpowering though. And so but the conditioning is to just run with the energy, like to commit to something, right? It's like, yes, let's say the 29. Say you have the 29, okay? This top right gate here. Say you have an undefined sacral, but you have this gate activated. So you're around a generator and you're like, yes, I'm going to commit to this. Yes. But then you're not around them anymore. And you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have this continuous, stable energy to commit to this process. So then the other person, the generator, if they're not knowing, right, can be like, well, I thought you committed to this, right? You could be out of the aura, out of the field, and be like, why did I do this, right? Or the power to care and nurture and protect, the 27, right? You're like, yes, I have this power to do this. If you have that defined, right? But your undefined is the center, but you have that gate defined. So here's the beautiful thing though, whatever gates you have defined in this sacral center, if you are undefined sacral being, you will have access to this energy when it is activated, right? Through being around a generator or a transit in your chart. Now, I'm going to give you a specific example. If you're a projector, and you are around a generator that is, and you have one of these gates defined, right? And you're around a generator, and the generator, basically you get invited, right? You get recognized and invited. Now you have access to this energy, this life force energy. Through that invite, it almost like unlocks the door to this life force energy for you, wherever you're defined, like whatever gates you have defined in your sacral. So, but remember, it's only for a time. You don't have consistent energy in this space. And so it's, you know, just be careful of the heavy influencing and the heavy conditioning within this, because if you're a non-sacral being and you get addicted to this energy, or you just love this energy and you're just like, you don't know when to say when, you're literally depleting like your organs in the body, like your heart, right? Your other things that you have going on in your chart. Well, so we can even look at astrology chart to see like, okay, there may be some issues within this and this and this in your body, right? So if you are not honoring your energy, your life force energy, and you keep doing and you keep going and you keep going and you keep going, but you don't have consistent access to this life force energy, but you just keep trying to push yourself and keep trying to push yourself, your body will break down. So this is why, remember when I said projectors, generally, I see more than the other types, have a midlife kind of health crisis because they don't know when to stop. You can feel exhausted and overworked. So if you're feeling exhausted and you're a non-sacral being, and if you feel exhausted most of the time, you are working too much. And it might not even feel like you're working too much. But play with this energy, okay? Because you're here to guide, if you're a projector, you're here to guide this life force energy of this center, right? So you're here to guide. So there's a funny meme that I saw online. I'll try to find it and put it in here if I can, or in the group. But it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I don't know if you remember that show or if you're old enough to remember that show. I am. It was probably in the 90s. I'm not sure, maybe early 90s. But so Will Smith was, I think it's like playing basketball in his driveway in this clip. Okay. And then I can't remember it's like their like maid or butler's name or whatever his name was, right? And he's sweeping, but there's no leaves. Like he's just sweeping, just to sweep. There's like, he's just using his energy up, right? And so Will Smith, his character, goes up and says to him, hey, what are you sweeping for? There's no leaves, and the generator is just like, the butler or whatever, meaning he's like the archetype of the generator, right? Is like, just keep sweeping. And he's like, okay, all right. If you see leaves, I see leaves, right? So that is like the projector is here to like guide the energy of saying to the generator, like, hey, I see you doing all this stuff. You know what though? You're so good at this. Let me guide you and like allow you to like use this life force energy so that you can be more impactful in what you do. That is the correct use of the life force energy for the projector. Now the reflectors are here to lift up like to the next level, like using the life force energy to see in, right? If you have an undefined sacral center, you're here to see. It's like looking at it as a window. I'm looking out the window to see how other people are using their life force energy. So the reflectors are, they lift up so the life force energy can be used on the next level now. Now we're on to the next level now. Let's move. Now let's go and let's use this life force energy to do the next stage of this project or the next level of evolution, whatever that is, okay? So they're here to see like where there is energy for something, right? To move to the next level. So I was going to say, I put in a video and I'm going to add it into the group. And it's going over the archetypes of each type. And I bring this up as we're going through sacral because the sacral is the only center that if you have it, you are a generator, right? Or a manifesting generator. You are a specific type if you have this center defined in your chart. So I have the archetypes of each type. So I'm going to put that video in here, but it's going to go over all that stuff. Like if you're a reflector, here's what you're here to do. If you're a projector, here's what you're here to do. If you're a manifestor, here's what you're here to do. If you're a generator, manifesting generator, here's what you need to do. And I have visuals for it as well too. So I'll put that in the group, but just know the sacral center is a powerful, powerful force. Powerful force. Also, sexuality. If you're a non-sacral being, You are being conditioned sexually by, if you're in relationship with a generator, by someone that's a defined sacral being. Again, the conditioning comes with the, when we're undefined, because we're bringing in this energy and then we're amplifying it, right? So pay attention to how that shows up in your life when you're around generators, if you are a non-sacral being. So that is what I have for you today on the Sacral Center. Again, if you have any questions, please put those in the comments below the video. And the next class will be the Throat Center, which will be the last center that we go over. And then I'm going to be going over the anatomy of a chart. Here's how you read a chart. Here's what you start with, and here's how you go through it for basic readings. Now, these are just foundational kind of basic readings. So that's going to be the last class. So until next time, have a wonderful day.